You stand in a room untouched by time, its air heavy with forgotten words. Here in the shadow of the past, an ancient invocation lingers, like the scent of something sacred, something dangerous, yet long erased from memory. The floor beneath your feet is cold, carved with symbols of long-dead gods whose names have been sealed away, whose worship has faded into silence. Yet, despite the passage of centuries, a whisper persists, faint yet insistent. It speaks of Camazotz, the bat god of the underworld. You don't remember hearing the name before, but somehow it feels familiar, as though it echoes from the deepest part of your soul. A sudden chill crawls down your spine. There is a reason the name was forgotten. There is a reason it is whispered only in the dark. It is here, in this forsaken space, that the tale of Camazotz begins. God whose story is woven into the fabric of death itself. He is not a god of light, of creation, or of life. No, Camazotz exists in the shadows, in the spaces between breaths, in the silent moments when life fades into something else. The bat god's realm is the underworld, a place where the dead are said to linger, waiting to be claimed, waiting to fall deeper into the darkness. But what does it mean to worship a god of such silence? What did it mean to call upon Camazotz? The answers have been lost to time, but there are whispers that call you to listen. Camazotz. The name repeats itself in your mind as if the very sound of it invokes something primal, something buried deep within. Ash! And yet there is fear in that name, a fear that has been passed down generation by generation, until it has become a shadow in our collective memory. Those who once followed Camazotz, those who prayed in the dark temples built in his honor, feared him as much as they revered him. What did they fear? What did they understand that we do not? The ancient Maya, the ones who once believed in the power of the bat god, knew him as a creature of the night, a being who soared through the darkness, his wings a harbinger of death. Yet they did not see him as an evil deity. He was necessary. He was the one who guided the dead through the afterlife, the one who ensured their passage into the underworld. To fail to acknowledge him was to risk eternal oblivion. His influence over the dead was absolute. But what exactly did that mean? What kind of god requires so much devotion, so much fear, and so little understanding? As you begin your journey into the forgotten realms of the bat god, you feel the weight of his lost worship press against you. You are about to descend into the heart of darkness to hear the stories no one has dared speak aloud for centuries. Before we continue, remember this: what you are about to uncover may change everything you thought you knew about the gods and about yourself. If you feel that pull of the unknown, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Let me know your initial thoughts in the comments. This is no ordinary tale, no ordinary god. The bat god calls you now. Will you listen now? Let's get started with today's story. Have you ever heard whispers of a forgotten god? One that travels across time like a shadow? His name is Camazotz, and his story is so ancient, so obscured, that hearing it now is almost a miracle. Today we're diving deep into the mystery of this bat god, a being of immense power from the heart of the Maya civilization. The truth about him lies buried in sacred texts. But one question echoes through the ages. How did Camazotz, the god of death and the underworld, become so feared and so vital? Camazotz's roots stretch far back into Maya culture, a world rich with gods representing nature and the cycles of life. So why did they turn to a deity of darkness? The answer is hidden in their complex cosmology. For the Maya, the underworld wasn't a place of punishment. It was a necessary realm, the final destination for souls completing their earthly journey. It was a place of rest, rebirth, and transition. Death wasn't an end, but a passage into another state of being. And in this passage, Camazotz was the guide. He didn't just represent death, he presided over the transition from life to the afterlife. His power was in the darkness, in the silent wings of bats that fluttered in the caves where the dead dwelled. But where did he come from? The true answer is lost to time. Some scholars believe he was absorbed from even earlier pre-Maya cultures. Others suggest he was born from the natural world, a deity, created from the fear and reverence for bats. Bats were seen as creatures of the night, symbols of both death and renewal. They lived in the shadows, flitting between worlds, never fully part of the light or the darkness. They were intermediaries, just like Camazotz, who existed between realms. It's this unique quality that may have made him so potent. He wasn't a god of the living, nor of the dead, but a god of transition. In those fragile moments where life and death hang in the balance, Camazotz was said to be present. His realm was one of mystery, where the laws of the living world no longer applied. There's a dark irony here. Camazotz was a god of transformation, not just destruction, yet he was feared above all others. The Maya understood that the end of one life was the beginning of another. But in Camazotz, they found something more unsettling. A god who governed not only the passage into the afterlife, but also the infinite, unknown darkness that lies beyond. This brings up a fascinating question. Was Camazotz a literal god, or was he a symbol of projection of our human fear of death and the unknown? Some who studied the Maya believed gods like Camazotz were representations of universal forces that transcended human understanding. Could it be that Camazotz was a reflection of the deepest anxieties of the human spirit? A manifestation of the primal fear of what comes next? The Maya never answered this directly. Perhaps they didn't need to. To them, the bat was a sacred animal that carried souls from one world to the next. Camazotz was a god to be feared, honored, and respected. His name brought the chill of darkness and was a constant reminder that death is always waiting. In the shadow of Camazotz, no one could escape the truth that one day they too would cross that threshold. Now, the story of Camazotz is more than just a myth. It's an enigma that pulls you into the same darkness that called to the ancient Maya. What other secrets lie hidden in the underworld and the realm of forgotten gods? The journey has just begun. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to uncover more mysteries with us. Have you ever wondered what rituals took place in the darkest chambers of ancient temples, where sunlight dared not enter? The Maya, builders of magnificent cities, held ceremonies that danced on the edge of darkness, surrendering to forces beyond our comprehension. Central to these rites was Camazotz, the bat god, a deity of the underworld and a harbinger of death. To call his name was to invite something truly otherworldly into your life. But what did the Maya offer in return for his favor? What did this god of death demand? Beneath the starlit sky in the heart of their civilization, terrifying rituals unfolded, designed to appease Camazotz and bind his power to their fate. Much of this knowledge is lost, erased by time and conquest, yet whispers remain. Fragments from forgotten codices and ancient murals give us chilling glimpses into these sacred acts. One of the most secret ceremonies was the Night of the Bat, held during the new moon when the veil between the living and the dead was at its thinnest. Imagine the scene. People gathered in hidden caves, far from any prying eyes. They would speak the name of Camazotz in hushed tones, fearing that a single loud utterance could invite his wrath. The air thick with incense would become heavy, oppressive, as if the shadows themselves were alive, watching and waiting. It was then that the most unsettling part of the ceremony began, the blood offering. The Maya blood was life itself, a sacred conduit to the divine. And so, in the presence of the bat god, life was offered in exchange for power, protection, or guidance. This wasn't a sacrifice of others, but a willing offering from the worshippers themselves. Some sources say the blood was poured onto altars carved like bat wings. Others describe it being smeared on cave walls, the very places Camazotz was believed to dwell. It was said that the god would drink deeply from these offerings, taking not just the blood, but the very essence of life. Was this a desperate plea for protection from the unknown? Something more sinister, an attempt to bend the god of darkness to their will? The Maya knew the cost. During the Night of the Bat, the line between life and death blurred, and those who took part were forever marked. Some claimed they could hear the flutter of bat wings in the distance, a sign that the god himself was present, watching and judging. The ritual's final moment was the most terrifying. With trembling hands, worshippers would place their offerings on a sacred stone carved with the symbol of a bat. At that moment, it was believed Camazotz would choose which souls he would claim. Were the survivors blessed, or were the taken ones sacrificed to ensure the survival of their people? The truth is, we don't know for sure. The Maya kept their rites secret, veiling their gods in symbolism and fear, but the message was clear. Camazotz demanded respect, fear, and blood. He's not a god to be bartered with. but a force that required complete submission. To offer him your blood was to accept the inevitable truth of mortality, that no one can escape the grip of death. There are stories of those who sought too much power, who ventured too far into the darkness. These individuals became lost souls, cursed to wander the shadows between realms, never quite alive, never fully dead. The true power of Camazotz wasn't in granting favors, but in his absolute control over the fate of those who called his name. The cult of the Bat God eventually faded into silence, but the questions remain. What was the true cost of these ceremonies? Were the Maya truly blessed? Or were they merely pawns in a cosmic game played by forces far beyond their understanding? As the answers, it seems, lie buried forever in the darkness. Thanks for watching. If you're fascinated by the hidden corners of history, be sure to subscribe for more journeys into the unknown. As you delve deeper into the tale of Camazotz, it becomes clear that his dominion over the dead is more than just a metaphor. The Bat God reigns over a true underworld, a place where souls aren't just left to fade away. Here they are transformed, altered, and perhaps even consumed. Camazotz isn't just a guide for the deceased. He is the keeper of the threshold, the guardian who ensures that nothing passes into his realm without payment. And that payment, the price is steep. The sacrifice is immense. The ancient Maya understood death not as an end, but as a journey. A crossing of paths between the world of the living and the realm of the dead. This journey was long and filled with dangers. The underworld, known as Xibalba, was a place of torment, confusion, and darkness. But it was also a place of transformation. Here, the dead faced the consequences of their lives. Their actions were weighed, and their fates were sealed. For those who worshipped Camazotz, the underworld wasn't something to be feared. It was a necessary passage, a journey that could only be made through sacrifice. It's said that the Bat God demanded a special kind of offering, not just blood, but the very essence of life itself. To truly enter the realm of Camazotz, the soul had to be offered, either symbolically or literally, to the god of the underworld. In many ways, this sacrifice was both spiritual and physical. Rituals of transition required a shedding of one's worldly attachments. The Maya believed that to be free from the world of the living, a soul had to sever its connections to earthly desires, to family, to material possessions. In the most sacred ceremonies, worshippers would offer their most prized possessions or their deepest bonds as a demonstration of their devotion. But beyond these material offerings, there was a deeper, more personal sacrifice. A willingness to surrender one's very self to the god of death. This wasn't just an act of fear, but of acceptance, a recognition that all must one day cross that threshold. The sacrifice was seen as a way to prepare for this passage, to ensure the soul would be properly guided through the darkness. But there was also a belief that this sacrifice might bring some measure of protection or favor in life. To give of oneself in this way was the ultimate act of trust in Camazotz. Trust that, once given, would be repaid with guidance, safety, and perhaps even a glimpse into the secret knowledge of the underworld itself. One of the most profound mysteries surrounding the worship of Camazotz is the precise nature of these sacrifices. Was it simply blood that was offered, or was there something deeper at play? The answer may lie in the very nature of Camazotz's realm. The underworld wasn't merely a place of death, it was a place of purification. To enter this realm, the soul had to be stripped of all earthly attachments, even the self. To walk the path of sacrifice was to let go of one's very identity, to dissolve into the darkness and become part of the eternal cycle. The question then becomes, was the soul of the sacrifice ever truly freed? Was there an escape from the grip of Camazotz? Or was the sacrifice only the beginning of an eternal servitude? Some scholars suggest the ultimate goal was not to free the soul, but to unite it with the god. To become one with the bat, one with the darkness. It was said that those chosen by Camazotz were transformed no longer entirely human, but something other, something that existed between life and death, forever bound to the god who ruled the underworld. In these darker corners of belief, it's said that those who entered the underworld with Camazotz were never seen again. They became hollow ones, lost souls whose existence was no longer defined by the boundaries of life. They were neither dead nor alive, but something in between. their spirits forever tethered to the bat god's realm. These hollow ones wandered the shadowy halls of Xibalba, their names erased from the memory of the living, their fates sealed in darkness. What is the ultimate fate of those who make the journey? The scholars are divided. Some believe that the soul, once offered, is forever lost to the darkness, consumed by Camazotz' eternal grasp. Others suggest the soul becomes part of the god, a guide for future souls, lost and yet not lost, forever caught in the cycle. What remains clear, however, is that the path of sacrifice is a one-way road. There is no turning back. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of Camazotz' underworld is the uncertainty that surrounds it. Xibalba is described as a labyrinth full of traps, trials, and pure darkness, where time did not exist. Within this realm, Camazotz ruled supreme, ensuring all souls who entered would face their judgment. But what happened after they crossed the threshold remains a mystery. Were they reborn? Were they consumed? Their very essence absorbed by the bat god's insatiable hunger. You can almost feel the weight of this mystery pressing against you, as if the air itself thickens with the presence of the bat god. The underworld beckons its path, one of sacrifice and transformation. And yet you can't help but wonder, are you, too, being drawn closer to its gates? Is the call of Camazotz more than just a story, more than the remnants of an ancient god? Or is it something that waits for all of us, lurking in the shadows, forever waiting to claim those who walk too far into the dark? Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more journeys into the unknown. As the stories of Camazotz unfold, the symbols tied to him become more and more powerful, carrying meanings far beyond their simple shapes. The bat, his sacred animal, wasn't just a creature of the night, was a potent totem, embodying the very essence of the underworld. But worshipping Camazotz was more than just offerings and rituals. It involved invoking powerful symbols that, when spoken aloud or drawn correctly, were said to open doors to hidden realms. Many of these symbols were considered deeply forbidden, almost heretical. They were too dangerous to fully understand, too powerful to be used carelessly. Inside the temples of Camazotz, these symbols decorated the walls. Often etched in the deepest corners, where only the most devout or the most desperate would dare to look. They weren't just for show, they were keys to the divine. Each line carved in stone, each stroke of ink, was a path leading closer to understanding the mysteries of life, death, and transformation. It was said that to gaze upon these symbols was to glimpse the true power of Camazotz, power so vast, so terrifying, it could consume your very soul. The bat-winged symbol was perhaps the most famous. This sacred emblem, with its stark angular lines, represented the dark spread of a bat's wings as it soared through the night. This was the mark of Camazotz himself, a sign of his rule over the darkness, over the space between the living and the dead. But it was also more than that. To the Maya, it was a sign of transition, of transformation. Legend says that anyone who could properly draw this symbol and grasp its deeper meaning would be granted the power to navigate the underworld, to enter and leave whenever they wished. But the price for such knowledge was high. To truly understand the symbol was to risk falling into madness. It had the power to warp the mind, to push you into that liminal space between worlds, where Camazotz' influence was absolute. Besides the batwing, there were other, more cryptic symbols. One was the skull with bat wings, often found carved into altars or painted on the walls of sacred caves. This symbol merged death with the flight of the bat, suggesting the soul's journey through the underworld wasn't an end, but a transformation. To the Maya, a skull symbolized the eternal cycle of life and death. While the bat's wings signified the soul's journey beyond the mortal world, together they created a paradox. The skull meant the end, yet the wings suggested something more, a transcendence beyond death itself. This symbol, like many others tied to Camazotz, was a map of the soul's journey through the darkness, a dangerous, uncharted course. Using these symbols was forbidden outside of temples and sacred spaces. Their power was so great that speaking them aloud or drawing them without the proper rituals was to invite disaster. Some believed that just uttering the name of Camazotz in the wrong context could draw his attention, invoking his wrath and pulling his influence into the physical world. And the danger wasn't just spiritual, it was physical. Many who tried to use these symbols recklessly reported strange occurrences. nightmares of bats, whispers in the dark, shadows that seemed to move on their own. The symbols once drawn didn't just stay on the page. They lingered in the air, in the very fabric of reality, waiting to manifest. The consequences were often dire, ranging from physical sickness to complete spiritual collapse. Some were even said to have vanished entirely, their bodies and souls lost to the dark forces they had summoned. But one symbol was considered the most dangerous of all, a symbol that could not be seen, could not be understood by mortal eyes. This was the unwritten symbol, the mark that existed only in the space between worlds. It was said to be the true key to Camazotz's power, a mark that could open a portal to his realm, allowing a worshipper to pass through the underworld and return with forbidden knowledge. But to see this symbol with mortal eyes was an act of sacrilege. It was believed no one could behold it without losing their mind. Those who tried to decipher it were said to be consumed by the darkness they had uncovered, their spirits trapped forever. And then there were the heretical beliefs. While most Maya saw Camazotz as a necessary, though terrifying deity, some took his worship to a darker extreme. These followers believed that the bat god's true purpose was not to guide the dead, but to consume them entirely, to take their souls and transform them into his eternal servants. These heretics thought that by sacrificing themselves to Camazotz, they could achieve a kind of immortality not as human souls, but as bat-like entities serving him for all eternity. To them, death wasn't a passage, but an evolution, a transformation into something that transcended human limits. These heretical beliefs were whispered in secret, since even mainstream worship of Camazotz was considered dangerous. Those who went further, who sought to unlock the bat god's deepest mysteries, were hunted down. But in the darkness, far from the eyes of the world, the heretics persisted. Their rituals were even more disturbing, drawing forbidden symbols and chanting incantations in the dark, offering their very lives to the bat god. In these whispers and symbols, the question remains: did Camazotz truly seek to protect and guide souls? Or was he a god of consumption, of transformation, of ultimate darkness? The heretics believed one thing, the mainstream followers another. But as you stand in the shadow of his forgotten temples, you have to wonder if any of them truly understood the bat god at all. Because in the realm of the dead, there are no easy answers, only the eternal call of the bat. Thanks for watching. If you're fascinated by the hidden corners of mythology, don't forget to like and subscribe for more journeys into the unknown. See you next time. In the quiet corridors of time where the shadows of ancient civilizations still linger, there are whispers of those who served Camazotz, the Mayan bat god. These were his most devoted priests, those who sought to commune with him on a level deeper than anyone before. They weren't just messengers between the people and the god of the underworld. They were the ones who dared to venture closest to his true dark nature. They believed they could wield the power of darkness without being consumed by it. But in their ambition, they crossed a line. The priests of the bat god were meant to guide their people, to invoke his power for protection and for the soul's safe passage through the underworld. But as faith waned and the worship of Camazotz faded, a radical faction emerged. They didn't just want to serve Camazotz, they wanted to become him, to transcend mortal limits and merge with the darkness he ruled. They began to experiment with rituals once thought too dangerous, rituals that aimed not just to speak with the bat god, but to bind their very souls to his. They sought a dark immortality, a way to live beyond life and death, becoming eternal, bat-like servants of the underworld. But their hubris, their overwhelming desire for godly power, would be their undoing. One of the most infamous of these was a high priest named Excanel, where others offered blood or prayer. Excanel sought a permanent, terrifying bond. He performed secret rites deep in the caves, away from prying eyes, calling upon Camazotz in a way never before attempted. During the eclipse of the underworld, a rare cosmic event said to open the gates between the worlds, Excanel performed his final forbidden ritual. Beneath the dark sky, he spoke the forbidden incantations, hoping to invoke Camazotz's true presence. But in doing so, he called upon something far more ancient and far more dangerous than he could ever have imagined. What happened next is lost to history. Some say Excanel was consumed by the bat god, his soul absorbed into the darkness, lost forever. Others believe he succeeded, becoming a twisted fusion of man and god. His name was erased from history, his betrayal sealed by the very god he sought to control. The priests who followed him, those who partook in his dark rituals, also began to vanish. Some were never seen again. Others returned from the caves with shattered minds and twisted souls. They were now the hollow ones, trapped in a space between life and death, neither fully alive nor fully dead. These lost priests, many believe, were the first of the exiled ones, a fate worse than death itself. They had not become gods. They had become something forgotten. Fearful of these fallen priests, the Maya turned away from Camazotz. His temples were abandoned. His once powerful priesthood fell into ruin. The god himself seemed to withdraw, leaving only a shadow of his former power. Yet even as the official cult disappeared, the dark influence remained. Secret worshippers, calling themselves the Cabal of Shadows, continued to practice in secret. They were drawn to the forbidden power, still searching for the truth about the Bat God. They had learned the lesson the priests had forgotten. To seek power from the Bat God is to risk everything, and in the end, nothing is ever truly gained. The story of the fallen priests is a somber tale of ambition, betrayal, and madness. It's a chilling reminder that some gods cannot be controlled and some powers are too dangerous to ever understand. And yet, even in their fall, these priests left behind a legacy of dark knowledge, forbidden rituals, and a god who could never truly be forgotten. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the shadows. If you found this story fascinating, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next dive into forgotten lore. Have you ever felt that strange energy during an eclipse? That feeling of anticipation? Maybe even a little bit of dread? For the ancient Maya, an eclipse was more than just a shadow passing over the sun. It was a moment of immense cosmic power, a time when the veil between our world and the spirit world grew dangerously thin. It was a time of transformation, of endings and beginnings, and for one powerful deity, it marked a dark turning point. Before the eclipse changed everything, Camazotz, the Bat God, was a name whispered with both awe and fear. His temples were magnificent, his worship was widespread, and his priests were guides through the great mysteries of life, death, and the afterlife. Camazotz wasn't just a god of darkness. He was a god of balance. He ensured the soulless safe passage from life to death and kept the forces of chaos from ripping apart the very fabric of existence. To call upon him was to respect the natural cycle. To ignore him was to invite chaos. But as the centuries passed, a shift began. New gods of creation, fertility, and war rose in prominence, capturing the people's devotion. The once mighty Bat God started to be forgotten. His temples were abandoned, his priests lost their influence, and his name faded from memory. The eclipse, once a sacred event tied to his power, became a symbol of his slow, silent fall from grace. Was it the god's own will to fade into obscurity, or was it a cosmic decision? Some legends say that during the eclipse, the stars themselves rearranged, as if the universe itself was turning its back on the Bat God, marking the end of his age. As the people turned away, Camazotz's influence waned. Grand temples crumbled, overgrown with vines. His priests, once revered, became exiles with shattered faith. The sacred night of the Bat, a powerful ritual, was abandoned, its mysteries lost to time. The fall of Camazotz wasn't a sudden dramatic event, but a slow, creeping silence. He became little more than a myth, a figure from forgotten stories whispered in hushed tones, if at all. The eclipse, once a moment of profound spiritual significance, became just a natural phenomenon. But here's where the story gets unsettling. Camazotz didn't truly disappear. Its presence lingers, lurking in the shadows, in the cracks between worlds where the veil is thinnest. Some believe the eclipse wasn't his end, but a transformation. A moment when he shifted from a god who needed worship to something far more subtle, an entity that could exert its power without prayer or sacrifice. Even today, there are those who seek him. Modern-day explorers and seekers of forbidden knowledge venture into forgotten ruins, drawn by the promise of the power hidden in the shadows. They look to the eclipses, believing Camazotz will rise again. And maybe they aren't wrong. While the world may have moved on, the Bat God has never truly been gone. He waits patiently in the darkness, watching the cycles of time. The question isn't whether he fell, but whether he is simply slumbering, waiting for the right moment to reemerge. Or perhaps, in the silence of our modern world, he has already begun to reclaim his power. The eclipse may not have been his end, but just another turn in an eternal cycle of death and rebirth. Thanks for watching. If you're fascinated by the hidden histories and forgotten gods of our world, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more journeys into the unknown. As the last whispers of Camazotz's name fade into the sands of time, a deeper, more unsettling question arises. What happens to a god when his worshippers abandon him? What happens when a once vibrant cult, teeming with fervent prayers and bloody offerings, just slips into obscurity, leaving behind nothing but silent ruins? This, too, is part of Camazotz's story, a tale of gradual decay. Of a god whose presence became a distant echo, drowned out by the relentless march of history. The fall of Camazotz's worship wasn't a sudden event, but a slow erosion, a disintegration of belief that occurred over generations. As the Maya civilization shifted, new gods rose in prominence, and the once sacred rituals began to fade. Camazotz became less a deity of active worship and more an artifact of an older, more primal belief system. His temples, once filled with devout priests and worshippers, were left abandoned, crumbling beneath the weight of neglect. The blood-stained altars, once powerful and potent, were overtaken by vines and moss, their surfaces slick with the passing of years. The ancient symbols that adorned the walls, once vibrant and full of meaning, were now weathered, half erased by time's unrelenting hand. But the silence wasn't just physical. The Maya people, with their increasingly complex cosmologies and shifting spiritual allegiances, began to turn away from the underworld deity. Camazotz, whose realm was death and darkness, was no longer seen as a necessary force. With the rise of other deities, gods of fertility, war, and creation, the bat god's role in the spiritual life of the Maya diminished. He was no longer the guide to the underworld, the one who ensured safe passage for the dead. He became a god of forgotten shadows, a relic of a bygone era. The temples dedicated to Camazotz weren't destroyed, but abandoned, left to rot in silence. No one came to offer sacrifices. No one spoke his name. Even the Night of the Bat, once a sacred ritual, was lost to time. It is said that the last priests who dared perform the ritual were driven mad, consumed by the god they had once worshipped. They vanished, as if swallowed by the very darkness they had invoked, and their madness infected the hearts of those who had once revered the bat god. Without their guidance, without the rituals to maintain the connection between the living and the underworld, the Maya ceased to call upon Camazotz altogether. So what does it mean when a god is abandoned? What happens when the voices of his worshippers fall silent? The Maya believed that the gods, like people, were tied to the land, to the places where they were honored. If a god wasn't worshipped, his name wasn't spoken, then his power began to wane. And so it was with Camazotz. As his worship dwindled, his influence over the underworld diminished. The dead, once believed to be guided through the afterlife by the bat god, were now left to wander aimlessly in a void, without guidance, without protection. It's here, in these crumbling temples and forgotten altars, that the true curse of Camazotz becomes apparent. The silence that follows the collapse of worship is not a peaceful quiet. It's a haunting silence, the kind that fills a space with an oppressive, unsettling weight. The Maya weren't just abandoning a god. They were abandoning the very forces that had once governed the cycles of life and death. By turning away from Camazotz, they risked upsetting the balance of the cosmos, leaving the underworld in a state of chaos. Without the bat god's influence, the dead were no longer assured safe passage. They were lost, wandering between worlds, caught in an endless limbo. This curse of silence wasn't just a spiritual affliction, it became a physical one. Those who lived after the fall of Camazotz began to notice strange phenomena. Unexplained deaths, the appearance of shadows where there should be none. Whispers in the dark carried on the wind. It's said that some of the last surviving worshippers, in their desperation to understand the silence, sought to bring the bat god, but Conley, to discover that to summon him now was to court madness. The old rituals no longer worked. The sacrifices no longer had the same power. The gods, it seemed, had begun to withdraw. leaving the world to fend for itself. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of this curse is that it has never truly ended. The silence of Camazotz's abandonment isn't something that has healed over time. It persists, lingering beneath the surface, haunting the places where his name was once spoken. His temples, though now crumbling, still stand as monuments to a forgotten era reminder of what once was, and of what was lost. The spirits of the dead, caught between worlds, still whisper in the shadows, searching for guidance that will never come. And perhaps the most terrifying truth of all is this: the silence of Camazotz is not an absence, it is a presence, lurking in the spaces between the living and the dead, waiting for the moment when his name will be spoken again. The collapse of worship was not the end of Camazotz. It was only the beginning of a different kind of influence, one that reaches beyond the physical realm and into the very heart of those who remember. The curse of silence lingers, unseen but always present in the forgotten places where the Bat God once ruled. And as long as those places remain, the echoes of his power will never fully fade. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as chilling as we did, be sure to like and subscribe for more tales from the shadows of history. In the forgotten corners of the earth, buried under layers of dust and time, lie fragments of ancient knowledge. These scattered pages, torn codices, and cracked tablets once held the secrets of the gods. Among the most elusive are the texts devoted to Camazotz, the Maya Bat God. These ancient scriptures, which might have once revealed a full understanding of this powerful deity, now remain as cryptic relics, their meaning lost to time, conquest, and abandonment. What we have left are tantalizing glimpses, pieces of a puzzle that may never be fully solved. The lost codices of Camazotz are some of the most intriguing artifacts of ancient Maya civilization. They were said to contain sacred knowledge, instructions for powerful rituals, and even prophecies of the Bat God's return. But today, those codices are scattered, hidden away in private collections, poorly understood, or simply left to decay in the ruins of ancient libraries. There are whispers, however, that some of these texts still exist, locked away in forbidden places, waiting to be rediscovered by those brave enough or foolish enough to seek them out. The surviving texts tell only a fraction of a much larger story. Their pages are weathered and torn, the ink faded with the passing of centuries. Many were written in the complex Maya script, a system of intricate hieroglyphs. Even scholars who have dedicated their lives to studying the ancient Maya struggle to fully decode them. Some symbols seem to have no meaning, while others appear to shift shape depending on how they are read, as if they were designed to challenge the very notion of knowledge itself. Among these enigmatic texts are descriptions of rituals long lost to time, rituals that were said to invoke Camazotz in ways unimaginable to the modern mind. They involved cryptic prayers, symbols, and diagrams, which, when followed correctly, were believed to open pathways into the underworld. Some rituals were said to be so powerful they could summon the god himself, while others were designed to protect the living from his dark influence. But what was their true purpose? Were they meant to guide souls safely through the underworld, as the Maya believed? Or were they designed to do something far darker, allowing the living to gain power over the realm of the dead? One of the most mysterious sections of the codices refers to an unwritten language, a script of forbidden symbols said to be the key to unlocking the deepest truths about Camazotz. This language, unlike any known to the Maya or any other ancient culture, is said to be a language of the Gatsa, form of communication that transcends time and space. The codices mention this language in cryptic terms, hinting at its power without ever fully explaining it. Was it a language of true power, capable of summoning gods and bending reality? Or was it something more insidious, a tool for opening doors that should forever remain closed? Even more elusive than the language are the prophecies contained within the codices. These fragments speak of an age of darkness, a time when Camazotz would rise again. They describe a great eclipse, similar to the one that marked his fall, but this one would herald his return. The details are vague, painting a picture of a world where the boundaries between life and death begin to blur, where the dead walk among the living, and where Camazotz's power eclipses all other gods. There are mentions of the Hollow Ones, the lost souls of those sacrificed to the Bat God, who will rise once more to serve him. But the full meaning of these prophecies remains a mystery. Even if we could understand these prophecies, would they help us? Or would they only open the door to further darkness? It is said that those who have attempted to unlock the full meaning of these texts have disappeared, driven mad by the knowledge they uncovered. The codices, it seems, carry not only the knowledge of the Bat God, but also the curse of his silence. To understand them is to step into the same void that swallowed the priests who came before. These texts are not merely ancient scriptures. They are warnings. They are the voices of those who sought to understand Camazotz and paid the ultimate price. And though these pages are fragmented, the truth they hold remains. The God of darkness is not easily understood. His power, his domain, his very nature are beyond human comprehension. Yet the knowledge contained within these codices remains an irresistible temptation for those who seek forgotten power. But beware, there is a cost to this knowledge. It is the knowledge of death itself. The price of that understanding is the one the ancient priests paid: complete surrender, the loss of self, and a fading into a silence that will never be broken. Thanks for watching. If you're fascinated by the hidden corners of history, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We'll see you in the next one. Even after the worship of Camazotz faded into memory, his name a hushed whisper in forgotten corners, the shadow of the Bat God began to stir. They say gods never truly die. They might fade from our minds, their names erased from history, but their primal power remains, slumbering in the spaces between worlds where life and death are closest. As ages passed, new beliefs bloomed, and the Maya, like so many others, forgot the deities who once shaped their reality. But for those few who dared to dig into lost knowledge, the power of Camazotz was never gone. It was only waiting. The ancient god, his temples and ruins and priests vanished, was still present. His influence hadn't waned. It simply retreated, waiting for the right moment, the right seekers, to call him back into the world of the living. It all started with the rediscovery of his forgotten temples. Buried beneath layers of earth and time, hidden in the dense Mesoamerican jungles, these ruins began to emerge. The crumbled altars, the cracked stone carvings, and the remnants of sacred murals started to speak again, their messages visible once more after centuries of silence. These discoveries drew archaeologists, scholars, and seekers of ancient wisdom, all realizing that what was lost could be found again. And in these rediscovered temples, the symbols of the Bat God, the winged icons, the bat-shaped altars began to stir with an energy not felt in millennia. But it wasn't just scholars who were drawn to these ruins. As whispers of the ancient gods' return spread, a new kind of follower emerged. Hidden in the undercurrents of modern spiritualism, a secretive cult of Camazotz arose. They gathered in secret, using rediscovered codices and sacred symbols as their guide. For them, resurrecting Camazotz wasn't an academic exercise. It was a spiritual quest. They believed that communing with the Bat God meant understanding the true nature of life and death, transcending mortal limits to enter a realm where time and space hold no sway. They sought to restore the ancient rituals and bring Camazotz back into our world. And so, the dark rituals began, against secret ceremonies held deep in the jungles, far from prying eyes. These initiates, armed with ancient texts, performed forbidden rites once thought lost forever. They inscribed sacred bat symbols on the earth, drew ancient glyphs in the air, and spoke the forgotten words of the Bat God. The rituals blended old and new beliefs, forgotten practices, and modern interpretations. And as they called upon Camazotz, they began to feel his undeniable presence. In those moments, the line between life and death blurred, and reality itself seemed to shift. Some said they could hear the fluttering of wings in the distance, the unmistakable sound of countless bats moving in the dark. Others reported seeing shadows flit across their vision, fleeting glimpses of a figure with bat-like features. Watching from the edge of consciousness, neither fully alive nor fully dead. Some fell into trances during these rituals, their minds transported to dark realms where the presence of Camazotz was a crushing weight on their souls. But with the Bat God's return came something darker. The world, already on edge, began to feel the consequences of invoking a god tied to death and transformation. As the cults grew, so did the disturbances. Unexplained deaths occurred with alarming frequency, often accompanied by strange signs. Bats circling the skies, shadows that seemed to follow their victims, and whispers in the dark, repeating the name of the Bat God. people began to feel the weight of his return, fearing that what was lost should have remained lost. Was Camazotz truly returning in full? Or was this just an echo of an ancient god, unable to reclaim his power, only able to reawaken the forces of darkness? Scholars studying the new cults debated the extent of the god's power. Some argued his return was purely symbolic, a way for people to reconcile with their own mortality. But others, more desperate, believed it signaled a time of reckoning, a shift that would end the age of light and usher in an era of shadow where death would reign supreme. No one can say for certain. The mystery of Camazotz's return, like the god himself, is elusive, always just beyond our grasp. Some say he has already returned, his influence felt in the subtle shadows of our world. Others believe his full manifestation is yet to come, that another great eclipse will mark his rise to reclaim the throne of the underworld. What is certain is this: Camazotz, the bat god of darkness and death, has not disappeared. He has only waited. And now, as the world continues its ever-turning cycle, his shadow grows longer, his wings flapping in unseen spaces, calling to those who dare to listen. Perhaps you too feel that pull. Perhaps this isn't the first time you've heard his name, but the first time you've sensed the beginning of something more, a call from beyond, an invitation to join the bat god on his eternal flight. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the shadows. If you want to explore more forgotten myths and mysteries, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. See you next time. In the deepest shadows, where history sleeps and nightmares awaken, a name is being whispered once more: Camazotz, the bat god. For centuries, this name was relegated to forgotten myths, a relic of a civilization lost to time. But some whispers refuse to fade. They grow louder, twisting into a call from the underworld, a beckoning that some find impossible to resist. In secret places, where the veil between our world and the next is thin, the forbidden rituals have begun again. Ancient rites, once thought lost, are being performed to summon the bat god from the abyss. This isn't for the faint of heart. It demands absolute devotion, a willingness to stare into the void, and a readiness to pay the ultimate price. At the core of these ceremonies lies a sacrifice, the offering of life itself. To summon Camazotz is to embrace death, to offer oneself or another as a bridge between the living and the dead. The ancient codices are clear. Blood is the key, poured onto altars, into the earth, into the very air. It is this essence of life that draws the god from his slumber. But the cost is far greater than blood. Those who perform the ritual must also offer a piece of their soul. To truly call upon Camazotz is to lose yourself, to step into the underworld and become a part of it. Initiates speak of being pulled into a dark liminal space where life and death are one, where time ceases to exist, and where the bat god watches, silent and eternal. Those who succeed describe an overwhelming presence, a crushing weight like the wings of a colossal bat. The air grows thick, time stands still, and the god manifests not as a physical form, but as a suffocating energy that fills the room, an all-encompassing darkness. They hear the flutter of a million unseen wings and feel the chilling touch of death itself. In that moment, they are no longer in control. They are at the mercy of Camazotz, bound by the ancient pact that is now part of their very soul. But the ritual never truly ends. The god's presence lingers, blurring the lines between our world and his. Participants are haunted by visions of a shadowed realm, by dreams of flitting darkness, and the constant feeling of being watched by unseen eyes. They are marked, changed, no longer fully alive, nor truly dead. They become the hollow ones cursed to wander the threshold between worlds, forever trapped in the god's grip. So why? Why would anyone seek this? Is it for power over life and death? A desire to transcend mortality? Or is it something far more sinister, yearning to join the bat god in his eternal darkness? The truth is often lost to the madness that consumes those who try to understand it. Some believe his return is inevitable, that these rituals are just the beginning. Signs are already here, if you know where to look. Strange deaths, eerie coincidences, the sudden appearance of bats in places they shouldn't be. These are the quiet portents of Camazotz's reawakening. The cults that worship him may hide in the shadows, but their influence is spreading. Each ritual tears another small piece from the fabric of our reality, allowing death's influence to creep in. To summon Camazotz is to make a pact with darkness itself. It is an invitation not just for a forgotten god, but for the unraveling of the world as we know it. And once that invitation is accepted, there is no turning back. His influence will only grow, spreading like wings in the night until it engulfs everything. The question is no longer if Camazotz will return, but whether we are prepared for what happens when he does. Thanks for joining me in the shadows. If you enjoy exploring the darker side of myth and history, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more. Until next time, stay curious. The gods of darkness, they say, don't show themselves in plain sight. They whisper through dreams, offering glimpses into a realm beyond our own. And the bat god, Camazotz, is the master of these visions. Its domain is not just a place of death, but of transformation, a shadowy space where the borders between worlds dissolve. Those who get too close often speak of strange, unsettling dreams that change them forever. But the question remains, are these dreams a gift, a divine revelation, or a curse? A one-way ticket to madness. It is in these dreams that Camazotz makes his presence known most intimately. These aren't just random thoughts from your subconscious. No, they are powerful visions that feel like an invasion, pulling you directly into the underworld. People who've been there describe a place where the laws of nature are broken, where time and space warp beyond recognition. They talk about a feeling of falling, a deep descent, as if the earth itself is swallowing them whole, pulling them into the dark unknown. In this void, Camazotz is not seen, but felt. He is a suffocating, omnipresent force. Some recall the faintest silhouette, the shadow of vast wings sweeping through the darkness. Others describe a cold wind that seems to blow from the very depths of the underworld, carrying the unmistakable scent of death. The bat god's influence touches everything in the dream, filling you with equal parts dread and awe. And yet, despite the terror, there's a magnetic pull, an invitation to go deeper, to understand more, maybe even to become part of the darkness itself. But what does Camazotz want? Some believe he's trying to communicate, to share ancient truths hidden from the living. In these visions, you might catch glimpses of souls trapped in the realm of the dead, spirits wandering the void, or the ancient rituals governing the passage between life and death. For those who are open, these dreams could be a revelation, a chance to understand the cycles of life and death that Camazotz commands. However, others warn that these dreams are a trap, a way for the bat god to ensnare anyone who dares to seek him out. It's said that those who have these visions start to lose their grip, unable to tell what's real and what's not. They become consumed by images of the underworld, obsessed with the darkness Camazotz represents. Their minds unravel as they try to reconcile the world of the living with the realm of the dead. In the end, they become lost, their souls wandering in that liminal space, just like the hollow ones. The path of the dreamer is a dangerous one. Maybe it's all just a test, a way for Camazotz to see who is worthy of his knowledge. Only those with the strongest wills, who can resist the pull of the underworld and hold on to their sanity, are allowed to learn the true nature of death. But for most, the dreams are a slide into madness, a loss of self from which there is no return. It seems the bat god isn't interested in guiding his followers to enlightenment. He invites them to lose themselves in his dark embrace, to become part of the eternal cycle. And still, the allure is undeniable. These dreams are more than just nightmares. They're glimpses into a world beyond our comprehension. Some would willingly submit to the bat god's influence, hoping to unlock the secrets of the underworld and become part of something greater. But even as they walk this path, they must wonder, is this a journey to revelation, or a descent into madness that can never be undone? The truth is a shadow. Those who return from the dream realm speak in riddles. They describe eternal darkness, strange creatures, and lost souls, with Camazotz always watching, always present but never fully revealed. For some, it's a spiritual awakening. For others, it's a permanent stain on their soul. They are forever haunted by the dreams and by the overwhelming desire to go back. To walk this dreaming path is to risk everything: your sanity, your soul, your very reality. And for those who take that step, there is no turning back. The bat god waits in the shadows, patient and ever-present, ready to pull the dreamer deeper into the eternal unknown. Thanks for watching. If you're fascinated by the shadows of mythology, be sure to follow for more. Have you ever heard whispers of those who sought the favor of the bat god, Camazotz, only to be consumed by darkness? These are the legends of the Hollow Ones, souls lost forever to the Underworld. They were once priests, worshippers, and seekers of forbidden knowledge, but their devotion led them down a path of no return. Now, they are trapped in a liminal space, a shadowy realm between the living and the dead. To become a Hollow One is to lose yourself entirely, to become a mere echo of the person you once were, forever caught in the bat god's grasp. These beings are not simple ghosts. They are something far more tragic. They were once human, with names, lives, and dreams. But in their quest for power or communion with Camazotz, they crossed a sacred threshold. They offered themselves in sacrifice, or sought knowledge never meant for mortals. In the end, they became a permanent part of the Underworld they so desperately wished to enter.
Yes.
Camazotz' realm isn't just a resting place for the dead, it's a place of transformation. While some souls pass through, their fates decided, the Hollow Ones are stuck. They wander the shadowed halls of the Underworld in an endless cycle of exile, unable to fully die, unable to live again. They exist in forgotten corners where reality itself bends. Eyewitnesses describe them as ethereal, shadow-like figures, flickering in and out of sight, never fully solid. Their eyes are empty voids that reflect no light, and they move with a slow, deliberate purpose, as if caught in a time loop. Some stories say they are the spirits of the damned, souls who failed to meet the bat god's standards. Others claim they were sacrifices that Camazotz never truly claimed, leaving them lost in the void. To encounter a Hollow One is a chilling experience. They move in absolute silence, their hollow eyes conveying a profound sense of loss that hangs heavy in the air. Those who have dared to venture into the depths of the Underworld, whether through ritual or reckless curiosity, have reported feeling the oppressive presence of these lost souls. It's said the Hollow Ones follow those who wander too close to the realm of death, their gaze a silent judgment, a warning of the price for crossing that forbidden line. Perhaps the most unsettling part of their existence is their eternal, unfulfilled longing. A cursed desire binds them to the Underworld, a deep yearning to return to the world of the living, to be free. But it's a desire that can never be met. They are forever exiled, forever trapped in shadow. Some legends suggest the only way to free a Hollow One is to offer a greater sacrifice, to trade your own soul and take their place. But even this is just a whisper, a guess, for once the bat god claims a soul, it is rarely released. In the darkest corners of our own world, people claim to see fleeting glimpses of them, figures that move too fast, shapes that vanish just as you turn to look. Some believe the Hollow Ones have found a way to partially cross over, and able to escape the pull of the living even as they remain shackled to the Underworld. They are said to wander the edges of reality, waiting for others who are on the brink, ready to pull them into their eternal exile. The Hollow Ones are more than just a ghost story. They are a warning, a stark reminder that some journeys carry a terrible price. To offer yourself to Camazotz, to seek communion with the bat god, is to risk becoming one of them, lost, wandering in darkness, neither dead nor alive. Their fate is the consequence of unchecked curiosity, of delving too deep into forbidden realms. They remind us that some sacrifices come with consequences far beyond our understanding. Once you step into the shadow of Camazotz, there may be no turning back. Was Camazotz a god? Was he merely a shadow cast by the human mind? A projection of our deepest fears about the darkness that waits for us all. This is the paradox at the heart of the bat god story, a question that lingers long after the last Mayan temple crumbled. The ancient Maya saw their gods in everything. They weren't distant figures, but living, breathing forces woven into the fabric of their world. But even in this deeply spiritual reality, a question whispers, were these gods truly out there? Or did they exist only in the stories told around flickering fires, passed down from one generation to the next? Camazotz holds a strange and shadowy place in their pantheon. He wasn't a god of creation or harvest. He was the god of death, the Underworld, the lord of the space between life and what comes after. To the Maya, his power was absolute, a necessary guide for the soul's final journey. But as his worship faded, a new question emerged. Was he ever truly a god? Or was he a symbol, a powerful metaphor the Maya created to confront the terrifying mystery of death? Some scholars believe he was just that, a mythological construct born from collective anxiety. After all, death is the great unknown, an uncontrollable force. In the face of this terror, humanity often creates figures to personify it, to give it a name and a face. Camazotz, in this view, was the face of the afterlife's uncertainty, a symbol of mortality's inevitable claim. But others argue that Camazotz was real. They see the ruined temples, the sacred glyphs, and the enduring legends not as superstition, but as proof of a genuine communion with the divine. For them, his power was once tangible, a force that shaped history. The real question isn't whether he was real, but whether his power ever truly left. Could he be waiting, hidden in the shadows, for the right moment to return? The rituals themselves are shrouded in as much mystery as the god they honored. Were these dark ceremonies just a way to face the fear of death head-on and attempt to master it? Or were they a genuine effort to summon the god, to bargain with him for protection? Did Camazotz ever answer their calls in body? Or was it only the illusion of his presence they felt in those dark, sacred spaces? To know for sure would require a knowledge of the divine that is forever beyond our grasp. Ultimately, whether Camazotz was a physical deity or a psychological manifestation might not be the most important question. What truly remains, what echoes in the wind whistling through ancient ruins, is the feeling asterisk of his presence. His influence, real or imagined, is still felt in the flutter of bat wings at dusk, in the deep darkness that lies just beyond the edges of the light. Maybe it's not about proving his existence. Maybe it's about acknowledging the power he represents, that unsettling pull of the unknown that continues to haunt us. Because whether he was ever truly real or not, Camazotz remains a god of the shadows. A god who exists where light fails, where the veil between worlds is thin, and where death waits patiently for us all. Thanks for watching. If you're fascinated by the mysteries of ancient gods, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. There is a moment when all the mysteries have been uncovered, when the shadows begin to close in, and the weight of the journey is fully realized. It's in that moment the question must be asked. Do you continue forward, deeper into the unknown? Or do you retreat, leaving the god of the underworld behind? As the whispers of Camazotz echo in your ears, as the darkness grows ever more tangible, you must decide if you are prepared to face what lies beyond the veil. Prepared to take the final step into the realm of the Bat God. The path you have followed has not been an easy one. It began with curiosity, a desire to understand the forgotten, the hidden, the gods that once shaped the world, but have since faded into the silence of time. You have explored the ruins, read the codices, and heard the rituals that once called upon Camazotz, the Bat God of the Underworld. Along the way, you have encountered the remnants of his influence's presence, subtle and haunting, felt in the shadows, in the flutter of bat wings, in the oppressive silence of abandoned temples. And as you stand here now at the threshold of the final descent, you cannot help but wonder, is this journey truly over? The final descent into the darkness is not merely a physical one, it's a spiritual journey. Plunge into the unknown depths of the human soul, a confrontation with death, with transformation, and with the very nature of existence itself. As you take that first step into the underworld, the air grows heavy, thick with the weight of ancient knowledge, with the memory of lost souls and forgotten gods. The darkness presses in, but it does not smother you. Instead, it opens up before you, as if inviting you to go deeper, to learn more. And there, at the edge of the abyss, you feel the presence of Camazotz. His power is undeniable, palpable in the air around you. You cannot see him, but you know he is there, watching, waiting. The Bat God is not a figure who reveals himself easily, and yet his influence is everywhere. In the flicker of the candlelight, in the rustle of unseen wings, in the whispers of those who once called upon him, you feel his presence more strongly than ever. It is as though the god is calling you into his realm, inviting you to understand the mysteries that lie beyond life and death. But you must ask yourself, are you truly ready to understand? The underworld is a place of transformation, but it is also a place of great danger. To enter it is to surrender yourself to the unknown, to face the fear of oblivion, to confront the ultimate truth of existence, that death is not an end, but a beginning. The souls that have passed before you, the hollow ones, wander in this realm, their names forgotten, their fates sealed. They are reminders of what happens to those who lose themselves in the search for knowledge, those who step too far into the darkness and cannot return. Do you wish to join them? To become one with the God of Shadows? To offer your soul to Camazotz and be forever transformed? Or do you turn back, leaving the Bat God and his realm to those who are brave or foolish enough to seek his favor? The choice is yours. But remember, once you enter, there is no turning back. The final descent is not just into a physical space, but into the core of your own being. As you walk the path through the Underworld, we will encounter not just the remnants of ancient gods and forgotten souls, but your own fears, your own desires, your own mortality. Camazotz, the god who presides over death, does not simply claim the soul, he transforms it. To step into his realm is to surrender to that transformation, to let go of the self you have known and become something other, something eternal, something both living and dead. In the silence of the Underworld, as you walk deeper into the shadows, you begin to understand. The god of the Underworld is not a figure of terror to be feared. He is a force of nature, an inevitable part of existence, a reminder that death is not the end, but a continuation of the eternal cycle. And in this moment of understanding, you realize that Camazotz does not seek followers. He does not need worshippers. He is time, death, transformation, and you are but a fleeting part of that greater whole. The Bat God's realm is not a place of judgment or reward, it's but a space of infinite potential, where the soul is freed from the confines of life and reborn into something else, something eternal. The darkness is all around you now, the wings of Camazotz fluttering just out of sight, brushing against your skin, whispering to you in a language older than words. The choice is still yours, to embrace this transformation, to accept the darkness as part of your being, or to turn away, forever seeking the light, never knowing what lies beyond the veil. Either way, the Bat God waits, silent, eternal, his realm ever present, ever watchful. But know this, whether you walk deeper into the shadows or leave them behind, the call of Camazotz will never fade. Once you have looked into the abyss looks into you. Whether you return to the world of the living or continue your descent, you will forever carry the shadow of the Bat God with you. If your candle hasn't gone out, then you're probably ready for the next god.
Thanks for watching.
And be sure to subscribe for more journeys into the forgotten. You stand at the edge of the journey, at the threshold of darkness and light, the Bat God's call still echoing in the deep places of your soul. The Underworld stretches out before you, vast and uncharted, a place where time folds in on itself, and the boundaries between the living and the dead blur into nothingness. Camazotz waits in the shadows, his wings a silent promise, an invitation to those who dare to seek the unknown. Yet now, as you turn away from the realm of the Bat God, as the darkness recedes and the world of light slowly returns, you cannot help but feel the lingering presence of what you've encountered. The shadow of Camazotz is not something that can simply be left behind. It follows you, subtle yet undeniable, like a cold breath at the back of your neck, or the flutter of wings in the distant night. The Bat God does not let go so easily. The veil between worlds has been lifted for you, and even though you return to the world of the living, a part of you remains in the Underworld, forever changed by what you've seen. The journey of discovering forgotten gods, of walking the darkened paths where only shadows dwell, is not one that ends when the story is over. It is a continual descent, a journey that pulls you deeper, that urges you to ask questions that may never be answered. Camazotz, like all forgotten gods, is a presence that lingers long after his worship has faded. His power is still felt in the spaces where light does not reach, where the boundaries between life and death are porous and shifting. Perhaps in the end, the true nature of Camazotz is not to be fully understood or defined. Perhaps he was never meant to be. In his mystery lies his power, a god whose very essence is tied to the unspoken, to the spaces between breaths, between moments, between the living and the dead. And as you walk away from this journey, you begin to realize that some gods are not meant to be solved. They are meant to be felt, to be experienced, to be whispered about in the dark corners of the world. They are eternal, always there, waiting for those who will listen, waiting for those brave enough to seek what lies beyond. The next god may come when the time is right, when the shadows call once again, and when you are ready to hear their whispers. But until then, Camazotz lingers in the darkness. His presence a reminder of the mysteries that remain, those we can never fully understand, but that will always be with us. There are more gods. There are always more gods. The next whisper is older still, but only for those who truly listen. If you, too, have felt the call of these forgotten whispers, follow us on this journey. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next descent into the unknown. The shadows are waiting.